Hello and thank you for joining me. I'm Elizabeth Burden, your host for AZ Illustrated Arts. Tonight, meet some artists who have turned their passion for art into vocations, and meet some students who are learning to do the same. Find out how one local artist maintains a business that lets him explore his lifelong love for printmaking. I'll talk with Tyler Meier, the new director of the University of Arizona Poetry Center, who shares his enthusiasm for the power of the written word. Go under the floorboards of one of Tucson's oldest buildings with an architect who is restoring a University of Arizona icon. And meet two young filmmakers who searched for interesting stories to make a documentary. But first, today's top stories.
The parent company of Tucson Electric Power is being sold to a Canadian energy operation. UNS Energy Corporation announced it's being acquired by Fortis Incorporated of St. John's, Newfoundland. The sale price is $4.3 billion. Company officials say there are no plans to change local management or operations. The deal must be approved by UNS shareholders and regulators at the state and federal levels, a process that will extend into the new year. UNS is the only company headquartered in Tucson that is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The city of Tucson is seeking grant money to improve its bicycle lanes. The $300,000 grant from the Green Lane Project would allow the city to separate vehicles and bicycles along Tucson streets. One project being considered is installing barriers along East Broadway heading into downtown. City officials say another method being looked at is placing parking between roadways and bicycle paths. Tucson is one of 6 cities in the U.S. being considered for the grants. Foreclosure filings in Arizona are continuing to decline, and the Tucson area is leading the state. That's according to RealtyTrack, a California company that follows the trends nationally. RealtyTrack reports that in November, foreclosure filings were down from the previous year by nearly 60% statewide and 70% in the Tucson area. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
Printmaking and silk screening are hands-on crafts that continue to be passed on from one artisan to the next. Andrew Brown brings us the story behind Tanline Printing, a Tucson business built around its founder's love for the process.
At my friend Ed's funeral, he was a screen printer for like 30 years. This dude got up to talk about him because he had been dealing with Ed for like 30 years as a business person. And he's like, first time I walked into Ed's shop, looked like a tornado went through there. I was like, should I deal with this guy? But then I saw his prints, and his prints were terrific. And I thought, hey, he just moved in. It's going to be, like, messed up. 2 years later, he walked into his shop, and it said, it looks like a tornado went through there. We're just notorious for not being clean, I don't think, except for our prints are clean.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What makes you better at printing is knowing your substrate, knowing your ink, knowing what you're printing, and having correct contact. Your screen is off the press a little bit. I have these 3 marks right here on my platen, and that's where my paper goes in, and I make sure I put it in there exactly the same time, same place every time. And I suck it down with the vacuum. And I bring my screen down, and I just pull nice and smooth over it, come up, and then you have an image that just passed right through the screen. And then you let go of the vacuum, and it comes right up. But the key is getting it on mark every time. It's still fun to me, and I've been doing it for almost 13 years now. I started in high school, making shirts for bands and stickers for my bands and other bands, and just grew into this, I guess, through connections and friends. And I've done runs where you do 5,000 prints. I've done 14,000 shirts in 2 weeks off of a press. Just endurance. And we specialize in everything. Like, I do jobs that I've gotten phone calls from people that are like, I've called everyone in Arizona and they said they can't print these. And I'm just like, oh, that's easy. Bring it in. Printing some postcards for, we sell at local shops of Jeff's artwork. These are all the stickers and postcards that we sell throughout all the vending machines and whenever we go out to table. This drawer is dedicated pretty much to Danny Martin. This one, we've got a lot of Joe Marshall. There's one of Bobby Carlson's drawings, like Slobby Robbie stuff. We got Adela, spreading the word. Yeah, certain designs are really popular, but I mean, our t-shirts are really popular. We do a lot of t-shirts that we sell at local shops. So this is done by Jeff Collins, the Roadrunner. We do a lot of desert-themed stuff because I was born and raised in Arizona. And then we've got just a regular old chicken, which people tend to like to buy. And this is probably our most popular, the Have a Nice Day.
The hats and t-shirts and postcards, those are the three main things we have of his right now. We like Jeik. We want to support local artists. And he also, in a sense, supports local artists because a lot of his work, whether it's his postcards or his t-shirts, are works of local artists. And then he's just translating that into a new form and using groovy materials to do it, which we're happy about because we're all about, you know, sustainability and upcycling, recycling. So he's part of that, so we're happy to have him represented in our store.
There's just an attraction to old things because everything is so disposable these days. Everything is. And most of the stuff I have in this shop either came out of the garbage or I'm not the first owner at all. Finding the right price and just waiting, just being able to wait and get stuff instead of just going and buying something new. This has got to be late 1800s, early 1900s. And it's missing some parts, but it's a letterpress. A tabletop 6-inch by 10-inch print, tabletop press. This is another letterpress that I just acquired, and it's an 8-by-10-inch. So you can print the size of that. The inside of that is the biggest you can print on the press. It's a paper cutter. It's a guillotine paper cutter built in early 1900s, probably around 1906. And it's a big piece of steel, and the only thing you have to replace is the blade on it, which I've got a spare. So this machine will probably last me my whole life again without buying a new blade. I'm just making a collection of cool old tools that are just non-existent and not used as much as they should be. We're growing every year. It's still just paying rent. Like, it's just because I keep on buying stuff. So I don't know what Tanline will be. It'll be here still in Tucson for as long as I'm here, probably the rest of my life. So keep on doing it. I can't really look that far forward.
The University of Arizona Poetry Center is under new leadership. Poet, administrator, and teacher Tyler Meier is the center's new executive director, and he joins me now to talk about the center's mission and the role of poetry in our lives. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
What is the Poetry Center's mission?
The Poetry Center's mission is to maintain and cherish the spirit of poetry. And we do this in a lot of different ways. We do this through our collections. We do this through our programming. We have a reading series that's been in existence for more than 50 years. Many different ways that we're trying to think about how we carry out the mandate to maintain and cherish the spirit of poetry.
Is this a dream job for you?
It is a dream job. It's an amazing thing to wake up in the morning and think, I get to go to a poetry center and think about what role does poetry play today. I work around 70,000 different poetry books and items in our collection. It's a wonderful and amazing opportunity to think about poetry in a daily way. So it is a dream job.
What role does poetry play today, do you think?
It's a great question. Poetry plays a significant role and can continue to play a significant role, I think, in contemporary culture. It teaches us things. It teaches us different literacies that I think are critical in our contemporary moment.
Such as?
Literacies of attention, literacies of creativity, literacies of language and how language works, how to communicate. It's uniquely, I think, positioned to teach us those types of things better than some other art forms can. And so it's a really exciting time for poetry. There's a need for it.
You mentioned a variety of things that the Poetry Center does to achieve its mission. What do you hope to achieve in your first year?
Yeah, this is a good question as well. I hope to think a little bit about what we're doing right now, reflect on what we're doing. We're in a unique position where we can be aspirational about what we may do in our next steps. And that's a testament to all of the support the center has had in the recent history, as well as the things that were put in place before I arrived. And so it's a great opportunity to be aspirational about what might come next. We have immediate goals with our website, and we hope to improve it dramatically in the beginning. And then there will be other things we'll do down the line. We'll tinker with programs. We'll think about some of our education outreach and things of that nature.
Former U.S. Poet Laureate Billy Collins once said that for better or for worse, more poetry is being written today than ever. How do you respond to that?
I think for better. I can understand his sentiment, but I think it's for the better. The range of poetry being produced today is so diverse. There are so many things that fit underneath the umbrella of what poetry is and can be. And that aesthetic diversity is valuable, and we need to honor it and be excited about it and appreciate it. And so, for better, I would say.
I would assume that more poetry being written means that there are more poets, but has it gotten easier to make a living being a poet?
This is a good question. I don't think it's very easy to make a living being a poet. I think most anyone who would give advice would say, find something else to do and write poetry because you love to do it. But that said, I think there are ways that poets can find ways to support themselves, and it's a constant struggle and a challenge. I wish there was more support.
How do organizations like the Poetry Center help support poets, do you think?
One thing that we do that we take really seriously, almost half of our budget goes directly back into the poetry economy. So it's supporting through honoraria, through teacher stipends, through payments to publishers and presses. And this is an exciting thing about how we're using some of the resources that we have to support an economy that needs that investment or to exist, to survive. And so it's meager on a grand scale, but it's significant for us, and it's what we can do, and we're excited to keep doing it going forward.
Do you think the programs also help to build an audience in a different way than merely publishing does?
Absolutely, and this is one of the things we're so proud of, that the readings draw in a diverse audience. Some people are using this as their first entry point into what poetry can be. Some people come to the library and pick up a book. They experience poetry for the first time through that experience. We want to find ways also then to move them around, to come to a reading after you've been to the library, or come to the library after you've been to a reading. Participate with us in different ways and take advantage of all the different things that we're doing in support of poetry.
As I understand it, the Poetry Center collaborates with a lot of community organizations, bringing them into the space. How do you feel that helps the center to achieve some of the goals and aims that you've talked about?
Yeah, it helps us quite a bit. It's both a survival mechanism that we need to collaborate to survive, but it also increases our audience, connects us with other groups, people who care deeply and passionately about poetry, about what they may be interested in their different nonprofit or group. And so both thinking close and near home about what we can do with other groups that support the literary arts, but also thinking broadly about how we may partner with things like the streetcar or the hospitals or other groups that are in Tucson.
Last question. Who's your favorite poet and why?
This is a very good question. I will not say a favorite, but I will say that there are many. And the poets that I'm reading right now, there's a woman named Mary Shebist. Her book, Incarnadine, is a National Book Award finalist. It's up for that prize. It's a great book. I'm really enjoying reading her. I'm also enjoying the books of Bob Hickok, another poet that I'm intrigued by. So not a favorite. This is maybe a hedge, but poets that I care about very much.
Tyler Meier, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I'm I'm Judy Woodruff on the next News Hour. Families in Newtown 1 year after the tragic shooting at Sandy Hook. That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
The winner of NPR's Olympic Poetry Games has a new poem, an elegy for Nelson Mandela.
You have always had your way. Black fist of words raised beyond the precipice. You bore the burden. Hammer, rock, and the lime quarry in your eyes.
I'm Renee Montaigne, South African poet Mbali Vilakazi on the Next Morning Edition from NPR News.
The University of Arizona began holding classes on October 1st, 1891, on a campus of one building, Old Main. While it has been renovated before, including being saved from the wrecking ball in the 1940s, a current renovation project has revealed some surprises. This story was produced by Karina Johnson for UA News, part of the university's communication office.
Probably after Santa Vera Mission, Old Main is the most important building in southern Arizona. I don't think you'd get a lot of arguments about that. The importance of it relative to the University of Arizona and the importance of the University of Arizona in this community. And so when you get to work on that, that's spectacular when you get to work on a building that is not just important, but as we've worked on the building, we've come to understand what a great building it is, what a great building it is for this climate, for the U of A campus, for this community, and to get to kind of follow in the footsteps of the architect and builder who did that project in 1887 to 1891 is a privilege. How often do you get to do that? The way we practice architecture is very much tied to this place, a sense of place. And Tucson is a very demanding climate, and it's also a location with a big, long cultural history. And the buildings that we try to do that are contemporary buildings all need to respond to the desert environment and all need to be responsive to the culture of this place. And that's what I mean by sense of place. And people use it in terms of art, people use it in terms of music. It's the connection between an art form or a design and the location in which it's placed. So when we first started the project, there was this rumor floating around. And the rumor floating around was that the floor between the upper level and the lower level was filled with dirt. And we didn't know if that was true or not. It was a pretty strong rumor. And sure enough, the entire floor, about 12,000 square feet of floor between the first and second, has about 2.5 inches of dirt covering the entire space between the floor and the ceiling. And the reason they did that was for sound attenuation, that you had a wooden floor with a wooden structure sitting over classrooms. And people were worried that, you know, as people walked on the floor, that the sound would reverberate down. And a good way to deaden sound is with a massive material, a heavy material. And so dirt was the perfect material to use. So when you opened up the floor, you were looking at all dirt, and we were looking at the floor after they took the dirt out, and we noticed that there were pieces every once in a while that were painted. And we couldn't figure out what that was until we took all those out and put them together in a puzzle, and it turned out it was the original construction sign with the name of the contractor on it. And they just cut that up in little pieces and used that for the shelving. What the architect James Creighton did is he understood that over the years this building was going to grow and change. The demands on it were going to change over time. And so what he built was a very simple structure, and which it consists of a cruciform, and then he built 4 quadrants, 4 big rooms. And then he built 2 wings, north and south, which were all originally empty. And he designed that so that all of the people at the University of Arizona that followed could modify those spaces as they needed them over hundreds of years. And so our intent is to take this historic shell, make it back the way it was when it was first built, and then go in and fill in that shell with all brand new uses, with new technology and new offices and new furniture, and be able to tell the difference. So when you walk into Old Main, you will understand that you're looking at a modern interior in a historic building. I really feel honored to be part of kind of this next iteration, this next group of users that try to respect that original building. When I was, we had a really nice visit with President Hart, and we were standing in this big open space, and we were talking about, you know, the glass walls and the contemporary materials, and you know, I just turned to her and I said, you know, this gives me a little bit of goosebumps, because this is exactly what James Creighton intended us to do when he finished the building in 1891. He knew that 122 years later, folks would be in here doing exactly what we're doing.
Digital film distribution has helped documentaries to become a more accessible and popular genre. Next week, the Loft Cinema presents a showcase of new short documentaries by Bachelor of Fine Arts students at the University of Arizona. Joining me now are filmmakers Kaia, Placa and Robbie Hyne. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
So Kaia, tell us, what is your documentary about?
My documentary is about a team of youth spoken word poets based out of Sedona, Arizona, called Young Voices Be Heard.
Why that subject?
I actually sort of grew up within the team. I'm a spoken word poet. I'm actually featured in the film a little bit, and I learned everything I know through the team, and it really changed my life for the better. And it changes their lives as well, so I kind of wanted to do an expose on the team.
Robbie, same question. What's your documentary about?
My doc is actually about Special Olympics here in Tucson, and I follow a unified team, which is basically high school athletes, Special Olympics athletes, who have partners who also go to the same high school, so general education partners. And we follow them through a bowling tournament here in Tucson.
How'd you come to that subject?
When I first got here to the U of A, I actually volunteered at Special Olympics, and it was such an amazing experience, and I had never heard of anything about the unified team, so it was something that I wanted to both know about, but also explore a little bit more in myself.
It's interesting to me that both of your topics have to do with students and perhaps the good they're doing in the world. Is part of the goal to show a different side of young adult life, or something else?
For me, absolutely. Within the team, you have students of all different backgrounds, all different ages and genders, and a lot of the times it's not people who you would expect to be spending their free time writing and performing poetry, and yet they are, and it's really universally sort of empowering message, I think.
And is the format that you used a standard documentary, or because you're featuring yourself and poetry, did you do more experimental?
I would say it is more standard, but I do feature a lot of performances in which I sort of display them in a bit more of an experimental style, but it's more towards the standard side of things.
Robbie, same question of you. Why focus on youth?
You know, it's just been something so interesting to me, especially with Special Olympics and those kind of athletes and things like that, and how they're becoming more a part of the general education system. Whereas, you know, 20 years ago, you wouldn't necessarily see these special needs children getting the attention in the public that they should have gotten. And I think now it's become more about what they can do and universally getting them involved with us general education students and making sure everybody is just unified in that way.
What are some of the other films that we can look forward to seeing in the showcase?
One of my favorites is actually two of our fellow students went to the Tough Mudder, which is a military obstacle course that they actually hosted in California. And it kind of follows, it's a personal documentary. It follows their experience through the Tough Mudder, preparing for it and going through all these different obstacle courses. And they, like Kaia, kind of features some of herself in it. Theirs is solely about themselves with a few interviews of other people who have done it. But it's really cool to see what it takes to get through that military obstacle course and hopefully encourage other people to take that risk.
Kaia, is there another favorite of yours?
Honestly, there's a whole wide variety of films that you can be expecting. There's films about ballroom dancing at the U of A. There's a film about a homeless shelter in Tucson and all the good that they do. There's a film about Santa Claus and real or fake. So, I mean, there's a whole wide variety of things that I think people will really enjoy. Something for everyone.
In this era of YouTube, why see a film on the big screen?
I think a lot of it has to do with the experience of going. I know for a lot of, especially, like 12 to 18-year-olds that we talk about, going to the theater, seeing it in the big screen is still such an experience. And whether you can catch it, on your phone or on the TV or something like that, it still becomes this moment of, oh, I'm going to go to the theater with my friends and I'm going to see this and have this experience with them.
Absolutely. Part of what's so great about performance poetry, which my film features, is that the audience and the performance feed off of each other, which in a way I think film is very similar. When you go to a funny movie and everyone is laughing, it seems that much funnier. So like Robbie said, it's all about the experience and experiencing the human connection of kind of experiencing it together.
Last minute, but a question of each of you. What's the most important thing you learned in making your film? Kaia?
Oh gosh, the most important thing I learned, I sort of really touched base with why I was doing it. I'm doing it because of this empowering art form that I feel saved my life and I think saved several lives, and I think that deserves more exposure. And making the film, I really touched base with that.
Robbie?
Great. For me, it's all about the storytelling. And when we grew up, we kind of learned to kind of tell these fiction films. And it's really interesting to see that stories can come from all these different places. And when we're asked, why tell stories? And the answer is very simply because there are some stories that deserve to be told. And I think for both of us and many people in our classes, we're telling these stories because they deserve to be told. And they happen to be being told in this documentary sense instead of a fiction film. And I think we both found a great deal of joy in that.
Absolutely.
Robbie, Kaia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
The Loft Cinema presents What's Up, Docs? Documentary shorts produced by students from the U of A School of Theater, Film, and Television on Wednesday, December 18th at 8 p.m. I'm Elizabeth Burden. Thank you for watching AZ Illustrated Arts. To post a comment on any of our stories or to keep up with the latest news, visit us online at azpm.org.